Welcome to Scrubs Unzipped, unveiling healthcare's hidden passions, the podcast where we pull back the curtain of healthcare to reveal the extraordinary stories, passions, and struggles of our healthcare heroes. But we're not stopping there. In each episode, we'll introduce you to doctors, nurses, therapists, and more who don't just wear scrubs. They have lives, dreams, and a burning desire to make a difference. And your host, a dedicated respiratory therapist, leads the way. So get ready to be inspired, informed, and uplifted as we celebrate the unsung heroes of healthcare, the passions that drive them, and explore ways to reshape the future of healthcare. Welcome to Scrubs Unzipped.
Hello, welcome to a very special episode of Scrubs Unzipped, unveiling healthcare's hidden passions. Guess what? This week is Respiratory Care Week, a week where we show appreciation for respiratory therapists like me. I have interviewed a few respiratory therapists and I wanted to do an episode rewind so that we could give honor where honor is due. So take a listen to my past respiratory therapy guests. Enjoy! Anne-Marie, your host on Scrubs Unzipped, unveiling healthcare's hidden passions. And today I have with me Miss Holly Webb. Can you say hi and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Holly Webb. I'm a respiratory therapist in Northern Arizona. I've been practicing for almost 20 years. Thank you so much for having me, Anne-Marie.
You're welcome. 20 years. That is so long to my little 10 years. You're like
Not really.
2 times more experienced than I am.
I don't think of it that way.
So,
Time goes so fast.
Yeah, it definitely does. So I want you to imagine you had a time machine that you could take back to your early days in healthcare. What's one thing you tell your younger self besides investing in Apple, of course?
Of course. The one thing I would tell RTs and myself back when I didn't know anything was to research your market. There are so many different practices out there, so many different facilities. There are critical access facilities that just do very basic care all the way up to and including huge teaching facilities and trauma facilities. So get an idea what you want to do in your career and be mindful of that. Also, research the facilities and especially the organizations and see how they are. Talk to other therapists and see how the working conditions are, if they are really good to their therapists, if there's a lot of turnover, keep your eyes wide open going in and research your options a little bit. There's a lot to consider in this profession. If I knew that, I may have made some different choices back when I first started.
Wow, that is so introspective because sometimes when I first graduated, I was just like looking for a job. I didn't care where I worked. I just was looking to get paid and to make sure that I could pay my bills. So I wasn't even doing no research because when you're a new grad, you have no experience. So you have nothing to negotiate with. But that's a good point. Since now these days are different, 10 years ago, no one really knew about respiratory, but now everyone knows about respiratory and they know that we're important. So I think your point is very great, Holly, that you said to do research about the organization that you want to work for and make sure you get opinions based on people who've already worked there. So that's definitely a good use of your time machine. So I want I want you to share a patient or client success story that deeply resonated with you and reflects the impact of your healthcare work or side passion.
The one that impacted me the most, and I still think of it to this day, This was during H1N1, and I want to say that was around 2012. So probably going on like 10 years ago. We had a teenage Duchenne multiple muscular dystrophy patient who came in. He was very sick, and I was working the night shift, and he was in distress. He wound up going into cardiopulmonary arrest. We worked on him for a long time, long enough for his family to come in. And his mom finally made the choice to ask us to stop doing CPR. And we did. And we discovered that he had a pulse still. And
Mm.
we were able to get him intubated. He was a very tough intubation because he's got that really short neck. But he had to actually be intubated in surgery. He was eventually trached, but he survived. He
Wow.
pulled through, he recovered. And this is emotional for me. I saw
Mm.
a newspaper clipping where he had walked in his high school graduation
Oh,
following that
wow.
experience. And I have to say that is the one most amazing experience that stood out for me as a respiratory therapist. I'll never forget it.
Wow. Yeah, that is so touching because once we're in that moment and we're just doing CPR, like we don't know if they're gonna come back. Like we give the epi, we do the shocks, but we don't know for certain like
Yeah.
if our efforts will actually have their life and it's great that he has a great quality of life. Like he's in school, he graduated. So I get that is like I would remember that too if that was my patient. So I think you did a great job with facilitating and using your skills to help save lives. And I want to go into your background. Like, what drives your passion for healthcare in healthcare and in your side passion or side hustle?
I I really want to help people. I really want to help people recover and live a better quality of life. I know that conventional medicine is limited and it continues to become limited more and more. And people are starting to catch on to the fact that nutrition and lifestyle play a very big role in preventing illness and avoiding uh, chronic diseases and being able to reverse them if chronic diseases do set in. And so it's important to me to be able to educate not only in what it takes to maintain your health, but what it takes to avoid getting sick later on.
Yeah, it's definitely like a two-way street. Like you have to be an advocate in your own health and you have to like do your research really. So
Absolutely.
how do you balance your main job and your side passion? Like I know it can be demanding. Can you share some strategies or practices you've developed to manage your time effectively and avoid burnout?
I limit the amount of work that I take on. If I don't feel like I can handle the task. I've learned my limitations, and that takes time and trial and error. And sometimes it's impossible, but I really do my best to balance my schedule from day to day, not take on too many work shifts at the hospital and not take on too many clients for nutrition or any other commitments. I keep a schedule and I try to adhere to it. And I'm very careful. This is probably the biggest one. I'm very careful what I commit to. I'm very, I'm very much committed to doing what I say I'm going to do, and
Mhm.
so I'm really careful if there's something that I've been asked to do. A lot of times I'll say, well, let me take a look at my schedule. Let me think about it and see when I might be able to get that done. Holding off
Mhm.
on making commitment right away has helped me to balance. I would say that's probably my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, that is like a good point because sometimes we like someone asks us like, "Can you go to my baby shower?" Like Well, I have to check my schedule, but send me your Amazon link so I could buy something. So sometimes, like, you want to be there physically, and now since we're going back outside, like, there's more things to do and more events to go to. So you just have to really choose, like, how you use your time. And I think that's very important. So going back to healthcare, what's a common misconception or myth that you've encountered? And could you share some insights or experiences that dispel that misconception?
I think the most common misconception in healthcare is that the doctor knows everything. And
Mm,
you want so much to be able to rely on your medical providers, but it's also important to sometimes question their advice or research, be your own healthcare advocate, like you said, research your
mhm,
condition, research treatments, and have especially a provider that is open to alternative therapies uh, besides what that provider prescribes. There is a whole world opening up. I think we've all heard of Google MD, and people are becoming more, they have more access to information now than they ever did. And they can use that to their advantage. So I hope that people will start to kind of question uh, what other things, especially kind of natural things, they can incorporate: diet, exercise, lifestyle, and especially making sure to manage stress and get adequate sleep, because those things aren't often addressed and they are paramount to staying healthy.
yeah, sometimes we forget about doing like the basic activities of living, like how we teach our patients, like sleeping and eating and drinking water and doing all of the basic things. As we conclude this interview, is there anything you would like to tell the audience about your passion or anything else you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I would like to encourage, especially respiratory therapists just starting out, to persevere. We are a fairly young profession, and we've gone through a lot of growing pains, especially in the last almost 20 years that I've been in the field. But it's so promising, and we're really starting to come on the scene in a lot of ways. RTs are very diverse. You can go into so many different things as far as pulmonary function testing, neonatal, pediatrics, like what you're doing, critical care, ECMO. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And I really feel like continuing to push to put ourselves on just the, just to make our name known out there is really what we need to do. And that's really what our society, the AARC, is encouraging. Even they even are encouraging now an advanced practice certification. Ohio State has it. So I went ahead and got my bachelor's in nutrition and learned after the fact that for the advanced practice credential that they require a bachelor's in respiratory. So if you are thinking about going forward in this field, that may be a next logical step. There may become a time where we may even be able to become practitioners. There are hospitals that are taking on respiratory practitioners in addition to nurse practitioners. So that's something I think to strive for as a profession, and just continue to put the word out there and let people know who we are.
Yeah, that is amazing because some people they don't want to go back to school and go to nursing or they don't want to go back to school and be a PA, but they really love respiratory. They really love the lungs, like they don't want to do nothing below the belt. So it just it, it's just like I love the lungs, but I just don't love the other part. I don't like poop. So I think that is like a good um a good career path, and especially in the future, getting your education is very important.
I think we
So
can
thank you.
blaze that trail. I think we can.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely blaze the trail. It's not going to be easy, but you still keep trying and don't give up. So thank you so much,
exactly.
Holly. Thank you so much, Holly,
You're so
for
welcome.
taking the time out to share your passions behind the scrubs and tell everyone where people can reach you and get in touch with you.
Well, I am also a health coach and I am also a community outreach assistant through the University of Arizona through the SNAP Ed program. So I wear many hats. You can find me at hollyshealthcoaching.weebly.net if you want to check out my health coaching website. And I'm here in Concho, Arizona. So look me up if you're ever out this way. Take care.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Holly. All right. Hello, everyone. I am Anne Marie, your host on Scrubs Unzipped, Unveiling Healthcare's Hidden Passions. And today I have a very special guest, someone who I've known for years. And we graduated together. So can you introduce yourself, David?
I am David Chula, and I'm a respiratory therapist, and went to school with Anna Marie.
So we go way back when we went to school, respiratory school. Can you share some of your favorite memories from our school days and how they influenced your journey in respiratory therapy?
The conferences were really good. I remember going to funny story. So we were at a conference, and it was all the vendors were there. Mask vendors, doctors, respiratory therapists. You get a lot of contacts. And towards the end, they had a what you call it, a party. So they had this big picture of what I thought was lemonade. So I had one drink. I'm like, this is pretty good. It was real sweet. It was delicious. So I had another one, and then I had another one.
Oh
Then
my
I had
God.
another one. Then I had another one.
Oh my
Of
goodness.
course, I had another one.
Oh
And
my
I was
God.
feeling kind of good. Like, this is really some good lemonade. And before you know it, I'm like, hey, what's up? I didn't realize it was alcohol. I was like, oops. So I stopped because I don't get drunk, So it's kind of a funny story. But I think just the industry itself, just really wanting to make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, I definitely remember that party, and some of the people that we knew, they definitely got loose. They were all drinking the lemonade that was not really lemonade.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, how have you been doing since we last graduated? Like, what have you been up to?
Oh, by the way, it's still echoing really bad. You might get that on. You may want to turn down a little bit more. Anyways, well, I started working at Lake City when I came out of college. That was my first job at HCA Hospital in Lake City. So I was there for 6 months, and I went from there to North Florida Regional Medical Center. So from there, I was there for 6 years. And I went to home care for a year. I did that for a while. That didn't work out as best as I thought it would. Really challenging. The company I was working for wasn't a bad company. It just home care doesn't. I mean, it's just really hard to get the support you need from we don't have a union, so it's just pay isn't really where it needs to be, and I needed to pay bills. So I left there and I went to the VA, and I was there for about 5 years, going on 6 years. Well, I unfortunately had to retire due to some medical issues.
Oh, sorry to hear that. So, as a
retired respiratory therapist, you've been on the front lines of patient care. How did this experience prepare you, if at all, for your own diagnosis?
I think being in the healthcare field has actually saved my life because it taught me to push no matter what, because the patient knows his body or her body. They know their body. They know what's going on in their body, regardless of the education that you have. And I kept telling doctors for 2 years there's something going on, and they kept saying no, there's nothing there. Because but eventually, long story short, I had a GIST tumor, which is a gastrointestinal stromal tumor. And I felt it in the middle of my chest. When I would walk, I felt it going back and forth. I was having black tarry stools, on and off diarrhea, constipation back and forth. I couldn't eat. I wasn't having an appetite. And the doctors kept saying, you can't feel that. There's no nerves there, that pain nerves. You can't feel that. I'm like, there's something there. So they ran a test and they didn't find anything. They ran some blood tests. They didn't find anything, but I kept saying, man, there's something there. There's something there. There's something there. And one of the tests, I was laying on the table to get ready for an endoscopy, and the doctor put me to sleep as I'm talking to him. And when he woke me up, I'm like, did you find the tumor? He goes, no, there's nothing there. You're just going to have to live with it. And I'm like, no, that's garbage. I know there's something there. Well, long story short, he went down with the tube, but he didn't use a longer tube. Apparently, there's 2 different tubes. So that tube only went right here. It's not going all the way down, and he missed it by centimeters. He missed it. The way they found it was when my digestive doctor did an EDG, which I don't remember what it stands for, but it's kind of like a CT, but you drink a bunch of dye, they give you a contrast, and then you're in the CT. You gotta breathe in, hold your breath, and then breathe out. Breathe in, hold your breath, and breathe out. This happens for a half hour, and then they found it.
Wow.
By the time they found it, it was already stage 4.
Wow.
And I've been telling him for 2 years that there's something there. So they went in, they did a biopsy, which was the biggest mistake, because when they went in and did a biopsy, it bled, and it bled, and it bled. And on September 22nd, I was rushed to the hospital, almost died. They had to give me 4 units of blood, 3 units prior, 1 unit after, because my blood level was so low. It was like he told me, he said, if you don't get blood right now, you're going to have a heart attack. You won't live through the night. So patient knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, and even having a medical background, you have experience so that you can advocate for yourself when you are sick. So I think that really, really helped you. So what so I would say that, is that one of the toughest experience you've faced, like almost dying?
Well, yeah, but I think it was tougher. I used to meet people that just don't listen. I'll give you another example. I made it to the hospital again for complications with the cancer, and I was laying in bed, and they put me in a liquid diet, and they gave me some Ensure, and they gave me some soup, and they gave me a popsicle, and all this blah, blah, blah. So I ate everything. So one of the techs come in, and they do a blood sugar, and I said to her, don't do a blood sugar. My blood sugar is going to be high because I just ate. That's normal for anybody. Anybody who eats, your blood sugar is going to go up for a bit. A normal person who doesn't have diabetes, sometime within 15, 20 minutes, they'll come right back down again, be normal, you're fine. So I told her, I said, don't do it. No, we got to test it because it's scheduled. I said, okay, fine. Go ahead and test it. They did. And of course, my blood sugar was 175. And she panics. I go, don't worry about it. It'll go down in about 20 minutes. Come back and get it tested. Well, the nurse comes in with a big old bag of insulin. I said, what is that? She goes, that's insulin. I said, why are you giving me insulin? I don't have diabetes. I'm not taking that. Well, the doctor said, your blood sugar is how you going to take. I said, you're not giving me that, and I'm not taking it. Test my blood sugar again. It's going to be normal. I told you. I just ate, and you tested my blood sugar. I asked you not to do that, and you did anyways. So what did? They tested my blood sugar. What was it? 80, which is normal.
Wow.
She would have given me that insulin, I wouldn't be sitting here today talking to you. And there's so many stories like that I have that people just don't listen, or they don't critically think. They just do what they're told, especially new nurses. They just go and do what they're told instead of saying, wait a minute, time out. I've had situations as a respiratory therapist where doctor orders ABC medicine, and I listen to his lungs, and I go back to the doctor. I say, you ordered this medicine. It's going to cause even more wheezing than he has now. He doesn't need this. Do this instead. And the doctor's like, okay, no problem. But no, people don't do that no more. They just go, oh, this is the medicine. Let me go ahead and do it. I got a whole list of patients. And then you go ahead and give them medicine that's not even good for the patient.
Yeah.
Or it might kill the person. In that case with the insulin, that would have been a centennial event. I wouldn't be here today if that was the case. Or I would have been in trouble. I would have, when I went to a diabetic coma for a bit, and it just wouldn't have been well. You got to listen to your patient. You got to critically think. You got to critically think. If you listen to this and you're new in the healthcare field, it's okay to question your doctor, not arrogantly, but critically think. If you don't think that's best for your patient, I've seen doctors do stuff. I had so many stories. I seen a doctor because the person had atelectasis, held the patient down and was ambu bagging him to open his lungs.
Wow.
And I'm like, what are you doing? Just give him CPAP. But nope, he set up, and he's sitting there ambu bagging him for like 10 or 15 minutes while he's as conscious as I am.
Wow.
I'm like, are you serious? But this kind of stuff happens. And it's okay to say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not risking my license to do that. I'm sorry. Find somebody else to do that. I'm not doing it. And if you get fired for it, then listen, there's always another job out there. When you lose your license, you'll never get a job again. You may lose that job, but you go to another job and you'll have a job. You lose your license, you'll never get a job. You'll be working at Walmart as a greeter.
Yeah, that's real talk right there. That's definitely real talk, because sometimes people are like, yes, man, and yes, people, like, do whatever you say, I'll do whatever you say, but you really need to critically think, and you really need to, because their life is in your hands, and we're all a team, and sometimes, like, some part of the team will miss things, and it's up to you to catch things. So that is a very good story. And it seems like despite the challenges, you have exuded a resilience and positive spirit. Are there any specific moments or stories with your family that have uplifted you?
Family dynamics have been weird right now because my daughter's a teen and she's not feeling her dad right now. Like, she doesn't like it. Her dad's not cool. It's we had a chance to go on different vacations. Like, we went to California for a wedding. I was sick the whole time I was there, of course. We went to Tacoma to see my dad. I was sick part of the time that I was there. We're getting ready to go to Pennsylvania, hopefully soon. I'm on and off sick, so it's been real challenging. I think that what's really challenging for me is not being able to work. Because sometimes, like, I've been sick for 3 days. I ate something called Beyond Burger, which I'd probably call it Beyond Burger because it is beyond whatever you would eat, and I would never eat it again. It's disgusting. If you're a vegetarian, just make yourself a salad. Seriously, don't go get a fake burger. You want a burger, just eat a burger. I mean, I ate it. I got sick for 3 days. I mean, finally, I've been sick for 3 days. I just today finally feeling better. But where was I going with this?
You're spending time with family and going and traveling.
Yeah, so spend time with family, traveling. That's what we're doing now. I'm now soccer mom, so I take my daughter everywhere. So even if I wanted to work, or if I could work, I'm just I gotta go get her in a couple hours, and then I gotta take her to swim practice, and then take her to work, and so it's like it kind of eats my day. I would like to get back to some type of work again if I could, but every day I wake up and it's a crapshoot. It's that I'm basically useless to an employer right now. I can't stand on my feet like I used to and run, and I can't do CPR because I know how to do CPR, but physically I can't do it.
Mm.
I would kill a person. I won't be able to withstand the amount of time. I mean, I just can't. I would like to, but I can't. It's like
Mm.
a crippled person trying to run a marathon. He wants to. You can want to all you want, but I just can't.
Okay. Well, let's lighten things up a bit. If we were to throw a reunion with our school graduates who we graduated with, and you are in charge of the playlist, which 3 songs would you absolutely insist be played and why?
Um, well, I'm old school, so I would probably choose a bunch of songs that no one would know about, like stuff from the old school days, like some Chubb Rock and
Okay.
Fresh Prince and like
Okay.
things like that. I think I don't know. Nothing really comes to my mind. I had one I was thinking about when I read the question earlier, and it slips my mind now. But I guess high school my high school song was "Never Surrender" by Corey Hart. So I think
Oh,
that would be
okay.
kind of a cool song. But then again, do you know who that is?
I definitely don't.
No, you don't. See that's what I'm saying. So I'm old. I'm completely old school. I don't like very little music from today. Some is okay. I'm like 70s, 80s, 90s, a little bit from the 2000s, but mainly 70s and 80s, man. So
I'll go look him up later. I'll go look him up
look
for
at
you.
Never Surrender. He's the same guy that says, "I wear my sunglasses at night." You know what I'm talking about? No, you don't know what.
Maybe.
You weren't even born when that song came out. You probably would even. Your
Maybe.
mom and
I
dad
don't
weren't
know.
even married at the time that song came out. It's like 40 years ago. That song is probably about 40 years old.
Oh,
So,
wow. Yeah, that's definitely older than me.
yes, much older.
So I don't want to keep you too long. So I want to ask you, like, your journey has been incredible and inspiring to so many. For our listeners, particularly those in healthcare, what's one message of hope or resilience you'd want to leave them with?
It's all about the patient. You remember why you got into the healthcare field. You didn't get into it because it's a glorified job. It's not. You're going to have days it sucks. I mean, it just sucks. Let me just it just sucks. You hate it. I've had stuff thrown at me. I've been cursed at. I've had people lie. I had patients lie about me, said this stuff, and thank God I had a good boss who knew my character and knew it was a lie. And then the husband came back later and talked to my boss and said, "Hey, my wife has dementia. She knows what she was talking about. He didn't do that." I mean, it's all about the patient, man. Remember that,
Mhm.
and also remember that you never know what's going to happen in your future. Whereas you're going to be on the opposite side of the bed. And you don't want that compassionate nurse. I had uncompassionate nurses that are absolutely terrible. But I've had nurses that were absolutely wonderful. I've had respiratory therapists that were absolutely wonderful. I had respiratory therapists that were absolutely terrible. Just because you're book smart doesn't make you a compassionate person. You know, yeah, you need to have the smarts. I mean, that's important. But people need compassion. At the end of the day, people need compassion. And you got to remember that. And if that person is yelling and screaming, he's sick or she's sick, they don't really want to be there. Sometimes they're against their will because their families making them go. But they don't want to be there. They want rather be out on fishing on the dock. They don't want that. So they yell at you. You can't take it personal. And it's not right. I'm not saying it's right for them to do that. It's not. But just remember that, put in perspective, how would you feel? You knew you were dying and you were 50.
Yeah, that's definitely it hits close to home because me, I do have experience of being the patient myself, and sometimes when your rights are taken away from you and you're just like helpless and you have to depend on other people, it's very different. It's very different and very eye-opening. It's very humbling because most of the time when we are well, we can do whatever we want, whenever we want, but when you're a patient, you can't. So I think that is very important to show compassion and be compassionate and show empathy wherever you are. So thank you so much, Dave, for being a part of Scrubs Unzipped, where we share stories behind the scrubs. And I hope you have a great one. Hello, Nicole. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, absolutely. Thank you so much, Anne-Marie, for having me. I'm Nicole Sorensen. I'm a respiratory therapist, and I am the owner of Sierra Alpine Studios, LLC.
Awesome. So my first question is, imagine you are in a time machine and you look at the early days in healthcare. What's one thing you tell your younger self besides investing in Apple, of course?
Oh man, I guess investing is out. Expect the unexpected and be flexible is really going to be the most important thing. I don't think any of us saw COVID coming or how it was going to rock our careers. So with that being said, I would highly recommend that everybody just is flexible and they're willing to learn and just be easy on their feet. I would highly recommend volunteering, and most importantly, take your vacation. Take your vacation. And I don't mean you have to go to Mexico. For me, my vacations were building a business, but take that time to feed your soul.
I definitely do the vacations a lot. Maybe way too much.
No such thing.
Everyone's asking me like, where are you going next? Oh, I'm going to Trinidad and Tobago. It's like, where are you going next?
Oh,
I'm going to Jamaica.
Girl, you gotta come to Lake Tahoe.
Oh, I've never been. I was really like interested. It's great. So you said volunteer. So
Yeah.
how do you volunteer?
So my volunteering has been a couple different things. For me, I'm active in my kids' classroom. So even working graveyards, I would set my alarm, get up at 11, read with kids for an hour, go back to sleep. That fed my soul. That made me feel like I was present instead of just constantly not present. Because when I worked graveyards, it was hard being present with my family, being present with my children. And I lived with a lot of guilt. I think that a lot of us healthcare workers that are getting close to burnout feel the guilt of the things that we missed, the opportunities or the ball games we missed. So I am the queen of overcommitting myself. I don't regret it one bit. Working on getting a little bit better at it, but I don't regret it. Whatever your passion is, put a little bit of time. And I'm not saying you have to volunteer once a week, maybe once a month, but be present with yourself is essentially what that means, is just like feed back into yourself in some way.
Yeah, because it's important when we pour out. It's kind of like you can't pour for an empty cup. So doing whatever you can, either is volunteering, reading a book. I like karaoke because I sing, so I like doing that. That feeds my cup. So it's just I like when you said like volunteering, because like even though we are in the caring field, like when you're doing something for and you're not gonna get anything in return, it's just like you just feel the joy that you spread around. So that is a great question, a great answer to your question. So can you tell me a little bit about your background and what drives your passion for healthcare and in your side hustle as well?
Oh man, I have a heck of a background.
Okay.
Well, I started my professional career in pharmacy. I was a very young pharmacy tech in California. Thought I was going to go to pharmacy school. After a long journey of infertility, finally got pregnant with my first child, and a little bit older than I wanted to, and realized being a pharmacist was not what I wanted. I'm going to be completely honest. In the pharmacy I worked at, there was a lot of people that just were very unhappy, very miserable. So for me, that was a sign I needed to do something different. So I went to my boss and I sat down with him and I said, "Hey boss, I want to go to college, but I don't know for what, thinking nursing." And through this journey, he got in touch with HR. I found respiratory and I became a respiratory therapist. So through that journey, I got pregnant again mid-respiratory school and thought, oh, that's okay. You know, I'm just working full time, going to school full time. At least this child is in my tummy, right? I can take him with me. But right before I graduated respiratory school, literally right before, I went into labor on the clock and walked down the hall to check myself in. And that little boy was born with chronic airway disease. To this day, it's been 7 years and it still gives me chills. My son was born with laryngomalacia, tracheomalacia, and bronchiomalacia, which if you're not familiar with those, laryngomalacia is one of the most common airway defects that babies can be born with, but most of us just consider it noisy breathing and they grow out of it. As they mature a little more outside of the womb, their omega-shaped epiglottis that they're born with tends to harden a little more and it's less floppy. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case for my son. So I proceeded to finish college, graduate college, all while my son went under for his very first major surgery. And I was just really blessed that during the time and all the perseverance that I held through school, I had a job right out of school. The hospital I was doing my internship with had held a position for me, so I started working right away. But more importantly than being an RT, I became a mom of an airway warrior, and that really changed my journey because my passion for respiratory burned so much stronger than it ever burned before. I understood what it was like to stand by that bed and treat somebody else's child, but I also felt the feelings that mom felt that was sitting there helpless when we're telling her to step aside and we're coding her baby. I felt those feelings. So my journey into respiratory was, I guess, different than I would ever have dreamed of. I believe there was a higher power that guided me towards respiratory. Something guided me there because I never dreamed Travis would enter my life, nor would I ever dream that he'd become the reason for me starting a business. But he's my baby. And I have another, my daughter's my Spitfire. She will be my spitting image. I guarantee it. But Travis really fed my passion of being a respiratory therapist. He fed my passion, and no matter what position I hold, whether it be hospital or home care, I have to find a way to make a difference. And it's always not always, I guess I should say, it's not always with the patient that you're making a difference. And that's what I learned in his journey is maybe I make a difference for a family member who is losing their dad. Dad might be ready to go. Dad might be at peace with his life. This happened recently to me, but the family is not. And our job goes so much further than pushing buttons on a ventilator, so much further than squeezing an ambu bag. It may be just acknowledging that mom in the corner that feels like they're living a nightmare right now. So that's kind of how I got into respiratory and became a business owner. And now here I am. Little Travis is 7 years old. It's a lot of major stories.
How is his lifestyle? Is he vibrant? Is he going to school?
Oh yeah. He lives a normal life. We travel to a different state to see his pulmonologist and to have his surgeries. We've gone as far down as the Golden Gate Bridge, and I live in Nevada near Lake Tahoe. So we've gone as far down as Benioff Children's Hospital to have surgery. But he lives a normal life. Thank the Lord for modern medicine. He uses the SMART method of asthma management, which I was super opposed to when I heard about it. But I tell you what, his PFTs for the first time in 7 years were normal this summer.
Wow.
So he's great. He's great. He's running, he's playing, he's screaming, he's taking his inhalers.
Wow, that is so awesome. And then when you have the experience of being in the position of you're a mother and you're watching your child in the hospital bed, it just makes us a better caregiver. It makes you a better caregiver because you can show empathy, and you can show that extra little touch to say you're not alone. we can like connect our hearts together. And that's just like a beautiful story, Nicole. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. He's my hero. He's literally what really gave me the drive to be a better respiratory therapist.
Mm-hmm.
He really did. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I don't know if I would have made it through COVID and still been passionate about my career. And there's a little piece of me that says he's the reason I'm still a respiratory therapist, because I can't let go.
Mm.
I can't let go of these patients. I can't let go of these people. So he's teaching me to not overcommit and to manage my time better and to just block it out and understand like what's important and what's not.
That is amazing. So I want to switch gears. I know that was like, I want you to bring you back to the present. I don't want nobody crying on the first podcast.
No.
So I want to change gears. And so what made you like passionate to start your business, and what is your business?
Girl, it was medical bills.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was also a single mom at the moment, and I had met this amazing gentleman, and he's like, honey, your brain is everywhere. You gotta craft or something. So I kind of started slow. I said, man, I can feel my passion to keep my hands busy, to do something. I used to crochet between patients on really slow nights at night shift on my lunch break. So I could feel that passion. And then as I started pouring my heart into things I was making, people were asking to buy them. They were I don't want to say went viral, because we actually don't do any online sales at this point. It just became you don't have to sell when you're passionate about it. So, little lung earrings, little pictures of COVID, whatever it may be, it just was selling itself. So ultimately, the busier we got, the quicker we turned it into an LLC and decided to turn it into a business. And we were able to pay off all his medical bills. And now it doesn't have anything to do with medical bills. Now it's our family business. Our kids are involved. They travel with us. We fit it into our spare time, but our business is actually laser artistry. So I know a lot of people have seen the glow forges and those laser machines, right? So that's what we started with, just as a hobby machine, but we've kind of grown into more industrial machines. We've invested in some thunder lasers. So kind of what we're known for around here is our earrings.
Oh, wow.
So
Those are
some
beautiful.
of my earrings, they're made on wood and they're hand painted. And we live in the state of Nevada, and Nevadans, at least up north, are very patriotic and very much in love with their state. So these are actually sold in local stores. And that's kind of been our business model. We realized we could not both have full-time careers and run a business. So we found partners that were going to help us build our business, and it would be a win-win situation. So we're currently in 8 stores at the moment.
Wow.
I know, which keeps us busy. And that's exactly, we're able to pick and choose our other opportunities. So we closed down all of our online sales so we could focus on our family.
Okay.
That way we didn't have to be on deadlines. We have a schedule for refilling our stores. We can produce when we want to produce. And we have 1 employee. So I can paint, and then she can just do the tedious work, the hardware, inventory, stocking, things like that. So we just learned to leverage our time.
Yeah, because you like dive right into like my next question was how you balance it. And it seems like you have partners and you also have an employee. So how did you like let go of the reins to just like say, I'm going to pay someone to help me? Because so many entrepreneurs are like solo entrepreneurs and they want to do everything on their own. And so how did you like transfer that mindset to say, I need help?
Define what was important to me. And this is something that my dad really coached me on. I always joke, he's an eternal entrepreneur. So I always knew I'd own a business. I just had to I've owned many businesses. This has just been my most successful. But he sat me down and he says, what's most important to you in this business? What screams Nicole? And I said, how I paint. That's something people can't duplicate. They're not going to paint like I paint. And literally they just try to make them little pieces of art. So he says, you do the painting, let somebody else do the other part. Let somebody else put them on the earring cards and print the earring cards and put the backings and the hardware on. So when I started looking at it that way, it showed me that I would have more time to keep the reins close on the part I love. So it didn't feel like letting go of the reins. It just felt like I was allocating my time more responsibly.
That is a good point, because sometimes we want to do everything, and we have to find the thing that makes us light up so we can delegate all the other tasks that we don't like to do. Yeah. So you mentioned that you started your business at work, and during the downtime you were just crafting. So do you remember like a client success story?
I have a recent one, and I actually asked the family, where no names, but I asked that the daughter has become one of my very, very good friends. So yeah, I have to be very cautious to allocate my time properly. So I time block. I don't intermix the two, because that's not healthy for my brain. If I start like meshing, my business and my job, that's just not healthy. So I really have delineated lines between my business and my job, meaning if I'm waking up at 6:30 in the morning and I go to work at 8, I can wake up and get ready and work my business between 6:30 and 8. I'd never had like a business crocheting. That's kind of what I did to keep my hands busy when I worked graveyards. That's kind of how I started like realizing I need to keep my hands busy, but I never really mixed the two. So, in terms of my job, I am still a respiratory therapist. I currently work home care, which I was terrified at first because I thought, man, I'm going to lose every ounce of my skills, right? Isn't that what we're always told?
Yeah.
No. I mean, if you get into the right home care and they let you have the autonomy to treat patients, you don't lose those skills. I can calculate tidal volumes quicker than I ever could in a code. Tell you what. So one of the most recent ones is I love bonding with my patients. Most of my patients are terminal. I don't know if it's going to be next week, next year, 5 years. But recently I had a patient that passed away. And what I have found is towards the end, some of my patients, not all of them, really like to share their journey. And I had an opportunity to sit down with a patient and just hear his journey, just hear about his time in the military, hear about his dad and his brother running booze during the Prohibition, things that you read in history books. And it was so neat. And when he passed away, I was saying earlier, you got to be there for the family. He was at peace. He was ready, but his daughter was not. And his daughter has become one of my close friends. So that was a really special one for me. There's always the stories of saving lives. I have 3 patients now that I was able to identify their airway defects before they even got to the hospital or before the doctors at the hospital did, because I had lived that as a mother. And I thought, man, I've learned so much through Journey with Travis. But recently it's just been being part of these patients' journey and not letting people die alone anymore.
That is so great that you were able to connect with the daughter, and you were able to like hear this person's like last words, like per se. So it's just because like one of my passions is hearing other people's stories, because I feel like we learn so much from each other, and stories are just so like intriguing. And I feel like it's better than Netflix, because Netflix is not real all the time. I like I like hearing like real stories. So I would say, I'll ask you, what is like a myth in healthcare that you believe is not true?
Oh man, a myth in healthcare. The myth is that everybody thinks we're superheroes. We're human. Girl, we're human.
Yeah.
We may go home and have a glass of wine. Like, we may have marital problems or be going through our own things, but we have mastered the ability, I guess, to put on the cape in that part, in that position, you know? A lot of those people that are taking care of you may have a family member in the hospital. And that is a huge myth, is they don't realize you never know how strong you are till being strong is the only choice you have. I've always lived by that motto, but I think a common myth is that they just, you hear stories about jumping in and saving a life on an airplane. And yes, that is doable. And there are some superheroes. I have met them that don't get nervous, but girl, I get nervous. I get nervous.
Yeah, I really do. I don't think I get nervous. I just think like what is will be. Like I'm using all of my skills to do the best I can. And then like if they make it or if they don't make it, I say like whatever it is will be. So that's how I try to like mentally keep it in my brain so that I can go on and take care of someone else. Because sometimes like when we go to work, it's like one event after the next, like intubations,
Mhm.
pillows, rapid responses. So it's just like one
Now there's a mech baby.
yeah, like one after the next. So sometimes you just have to like take a deep breath. As respiratory therapists, we need to take a deep breath a few times so that we could actually just calm ourselves and be present and be in the moment and just be like the best we can be. Like I know like some where they say like we're heroes, but sometimes you just need to be a hero for yourself.
Yeah.
Instead of being a hero for other people, you need to like save yourself first before you try to save someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there anything? So, what is the future of your business and your career, say, like the next 5 or 10 years?
Man, I absolutely want to pay off 100% of my family's debt with our business. I love being in stores. So the future of our business, believe it or not, is to be in stores everywhere we love to travel. So Destin, Florida, hey, we're coming for you. We're going to North Carolina this winter for a wedding, and we've already made a business contact there. So that's kind of our future. We want to travel with our children. And what better way to do that than around your business?
So cool. So how do you find the stores where you want to sell your products?
So far, we've been lucky. They've been coming to us.
Oh,
Believe it or not, the North Carolina store, we met them at a craft fair. They were on vacation here and they saw our work and reached out to us and said, how can we carry this in our store? And so we booked a trip out there and booked a vacation and we're heading out there. Most of the time I just walk in with my product and I leave one pair of earrings and a business card. And like I said, if you're passionate about what you do, it sells itself. All you have to do is share it. So share your passion, talk to them a little bit about how everything you made is handmade or how you created this app because what is your why? Why did you create the app? And when you master what's inside of you, like I created this app because I felt I needed more organization and I'm hoping to share that with other people. It just sells itself.
that is amazing. And I just like you shut down online stores and it's like you have to be physically in a place to go buy your earrings. But if you are
I'll ship you some, girl. You text me your address. I got you. You want some lunch?
I would love some lungs. I
Got
would
you.
love those. And then I'll be like modeling them like you like
Yes. We may open that up in the future. The employee is new. She's only 3 months in with our business. So we want to get through our Christmas season, which is our busiest season. And then we will start understanding like if we have the capacity to open online sales back up. So that is absolutely a potential that those may open back up.
Okay, I feel better now. I feel better now for all the viewers and all the listeners. I'll be able to purchase Nicole's. What is your business name?
Sierra Alpine Studio. And you can find us on Facebook and Instagram and just reach out to us. We love the personal connection. So reach out to us and say, hey, I saw the podcast. I'm interested in a pair of long earrings or whatever it may be. And we can do, personal sales through our business account. We can invoice somebody. We just are cautious about online platforms because we want to be able to give you our word and fulfill it. Mm-hmm. And we couldn't always do that on Etsy and Shopify right now because people buy. And then, girl, I got a bunch of 12-hour shifts coming up. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, sleep. So yeah, just reach out to us. We're a very small town personal business right now.
So I know that Respiratory Care Week is coming up. So are you offering any specials or anything for Respiratory Care Week?
Heck yes. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
Okay.
What's your favorite number?
My favorite number? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I like 7.
Okay, so we're going to do 7% off of everything.
Oh, okay.
Yep, just reach out to me. If you look on our Facebook and Instagram, you can see some of our artwork. A lot of our stuff is custom made at the time you order it. So reach out to us and let us know. And let us know that you found us through Scrubs Unzipped podcast, and we'll make sure you get 7% off of everything.
Awesome. Man, I should have said 10. I'm just kidding.
Oh, you want to do 10? Okay, I'm down with 10. 10.
No, I'm just kidding. I like 7.
I think I'm coming up on 10 years as an RT now, so we'll do 10.
Was it 10? Okay, 10. Okay.
And it's easier for me to tell my husband because he does a lot of the invoicing.
Okay.
He's a construction guy.
So you can ship them out.
Absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
we can.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's how we keep the stores outside of Nevada going as we ship. So we're just cautious right now because we still work full time. Until we start building up our employee base, we want to be able to commit and to get everybody their product that we say we're going to get them without compromising our care as RT or construction supervisor, whatever he does.
So is there anything else you would like the viewers, the listeners to know, wrapping up the episode? Do you have any? You've already given like a whole bunch of nuggets that I'm just going to have to like chop it up and just make it nice and beautiful for social media. But is there anything you would like to add during the last few minutes?
Just follow your passion. And if you feel overwhelmed, it's okay. It's okay to stop and take a breath. That's all. That's kind of how we're learning to live life one step at a time, at least in my household.
That is great advice. So thank you so much, Nicole, for being the first guest on Scrubs Unzipped. And I just wanted to let you know that I value you as a healthcare worker, and I appreciate you for answering the call, for being a guest on this podcast, because my passion is about hearing the stories behind the scrubs, hearing the stories behind all the things that we do at work and even in our personal lives, because we are multifaceted people. Like, there's more things that we can do, not just what we do at work. So I just want to thank you, and I appreciate you. And thank you so